Common Filth Radio, episode 63, commonfilth at commonfilth.com is my email address, r/commonfilth on Reddit, ask.fm/commonfilth. You can send me your questions and comments at those locations. Tumblrista's Raw Volume 3 is done, thank God, because I can stop looking at that shit for a while. It comes out November 19th, which is the same day that Tumblrista's episodes usually come out. And I've been sending a few advanced copies to some people, and I'm waiting to hear back from them what they think of it. So, yep, it's done, and it will be on sale on Thursday. And in the meantime, everything on the Bandcamp store, commonfilthradio.bandcamp.com, 50% off. You can buy the whole collection, everything I've done so far for, I think, $3.50, if I am not mistaken. And the next big Bandcamp thing that I'm working on is Common Filth Radio, the best of 2015. And it seems like yesterday that I released Common Filth Radio, the best of 2014. And I'm really excited about this collection. I'm really looking forward to putting together this collection because there's hours of unreleased stuff that I've recorded this year. And it's going to take some time to listen to all of it and see what's good, what's bad, what needs to be thrown away, but there's going to be a lot of exclusive stuff on that collection in addition to the best segments from all the episodes that I've done this year. And there's also something really good that I intend to work on, but I will not share the details of it yet because every time that I share a plan with somebody that I have not yet put work towards, it usually never ends up happening. And by usually, probably almost always. So once I put some stuff to record with regards to what I have in mind, I'll share more details about that. But for now, Tumblrista's Raw Volume 3 coming out this week. Common Filth Radio, the best of 2015, coming out either in December or January, probably very early January, and a untitled, unnamed secret project. So, exciting times here. And before we go any further, you might be asking yourself, what the hell am I looking at? This was sent to me from one of my loyal Twitter followers, DavisIan0, at DavisIan0. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Regardless, Big Snout made this for me. And give Big Snout a big thanks because I got a big laugh out of this, and I have Big Snout's Twitter linked below, so check it out. So being that I do have Twitter open right now, I'll read through the trends. Hashtag pray for Syria, Paris, French PM, Muslims. Listen, I'm not going to drone on and show how much of a great person I am. This is terrible attack. The violence so bad. Flag filter, so bad. I'm not going to do that. This is what happens when you have people brought up in this vacuum of morality. When you have people who are products of people who lived in generation after generation defined by moral apathy, you get these people saying how good of a person they are because they believe X, Y, and Z, but they don't live it. They don't weave it into the very fabric of their existence. They don't prove their moral worth. And look at what they think is moral. We know what the current generation of living people believes to be moral. But in this case specifically, what are the two common sentiments? Look, I'm waving my French flag, and look, I'm showing empathy, sympathy to the attackers. But let's just limit this to France now. Let us quantify moral apathy. Let us quantify spiritual degradation. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, a group of wealthy nations, has recently published new figures on government social spending. Covered is unemployment insurance, disability payments, old age assistance, government-provided health care, family allowances, and the like. By this measure alone, the U.S. is hardly a leader. It ranks 23rd in the world, with social spending of roughly 19% of gross domestic product. This is slightly below the OECD average of 22%. Now, here it is. France is the champ at nearly 32%. And this comes from the Chicago Tribune, a story written as of now. It's about a year old. It was written November 28, 2014. And I am willing to bet that not a whole lot has changed in one short year. How about religion? 2006 poll mentioned as January 2007 poll in the International Religious Freedom Report 2007 by U.S. Department of State shows that 61% of respondents indicate they are Catholic. And this is France. Even if they never attend religious service. Another 31% of those polled state they have no religious affiliation. Among Catholics, only 8% attend Mass weekly. 1/3 do so occasionally, and 46% attend only for baptisms, weddings, and funerals. Only 52% of the declared Catholics believe that the existence of God is certain or possible. On the other hand, about 1/3 of the 8% church-going Catholics are traditionalists. You have to understand here, the reason why I talk about matters of the soul, matters of morality so much, is because it all starts from within. Culture is a reflection of the impulses of the people that belong to it. And what is the impulse? What is the impulse of the average French person? If these numbers are to be believed, which I think they are. Because most of Europe, they have their own official church, but none of them actually believe in Jesus. Like, I have a headline here. Swedish church members don't believe in Jesus. This is from 2011. Only 15% of members of the Church of Sweden say they believe in Jesus, and an equal number claim to be atheists, according to the results of a recent survey. So it's a perfunctory bullshit sort of thing that people go through to join the church. And the source on that, more than 10,000 members of the Swedish church participated in a comprehensive membership survey carried out over the past year and dubbed Member 2010. Now let's move it back to France. The reason why I brought up Sweden, there's some similar demographic stuff going on there. There's some similar attitudes towards immigration. Pew Research Center, Global Attitude Survey 2011. 85% French consider that it is not necessary to believe in God to be moral. The highest rate in the world. In other words, the average French man, the average French woman, has other gods before. What was the death count in Paris? 120 plus killed in the terrorist attack. Is it any wonder how the conditions that led to the slaughter of this many people came to be? I like to say this a lot, and no one has been able to prove me wrong on it. It is not the one mistake that leads to catastrophe. It is not that one itty-bitty little thing that sends the whole thing tumbling down. Certainly it had a role, and certainly certain people fired those weapons at those 120 plus people. And however many more got injured. Certainly. But look at the conditions. Look at the conditions that led up to it. You have a godless people who have no direction, no sense of moral boundaries, who are too craven to make difficult decisions regarding the direction their people should take. People elect leaders and subsidize the salaries of people who have no sense of obligation, no sense of loyalty. The only thing that your average European values is tolerance and apathy. In other words, a void. And we're surprised, we're shocked, we're outraged that somebody is going to fill that void and fill it violently. But again, there has to be a long series of fuck-ups. A long series of bad impulses that leads to this point. And you freak out when a massacre occurs. If there is weakness will be exploited. And if you place other gods before him, everything will be weakness. You have faith in the seen, the quantifiable. That which you can touch, that which you think you can control, but it will let you down time and time again. It will decay, it will atrophy, it will perish. So if you want to know the TLDR Cliff Notes soundbite version of how I feel about the attacks in Paris, this is what happens when you are a proud, unrepentant sinner. Like the English with their obsession with cross-dressing and lesbianism. What started off as a joke has now become apparently a legitimate lifestyle choice. Look, I'm wearing a dress. Isn't that funny? 'Cause I'm a man. And that turns into, wait, I was being serious all along. And I'm referring to this fucking movie trailer that I had the displeasure of being exposed to recently. Why are we, as a culture, so obsessed with institutionalizing weakness? As if it's a strength, as if it's something to be proud of. Instead of something that'll earn us a trip to the wrong side of a Russian firearm. And just as I say that, on my Twitter feed pops up a screenshot of a Twitter account of a man, clearly a man, not much of one, a male. Man implies something moral. Male refers to the biology of things. And this male has she, her pronouns, trans, Bernie 2016. This is what's out there, everyone. And the caption is, our civilization really does deserve to be destroyed. Well, in the long run, what you put out is what you get back, so connect the dots. It is beyond my comprehension why my fellow man either tolerates or elevates the most dubious passions as worthy of our protection. The crisis is internal. It's not external. What are the headlines? Boy stars in Barbie commercial for the first time, and Drudge is linking to The Advocate. Again, look who's promoting. Who's promoting weakness? Who is enabling weakness? And if you're not aware of what kind of publication The Advocate is, let me read to you some of their headlines. Anti-gay Utah judge is off lesbian parenting case. 18 takeaways from the New Yorker's Westboro profile. Casey Musgrave serves a southern spoonful of sugar. Her story explores the dating lives of trans women. Photos for Pride We Go to Rio. Buffalo Church removes Jesus Had Two Dads signs after uproar. You know what? Our civilization doesn't deserve destruction. Civilization has earned its destruction. Mothers are not interested in raising their daughters to be mothers. Mothers are not interested in raising their sons to be soldiers. This mother is interested in raising her son, who is quite young, and it's a white kid, by the way. Let me read this for you. The new Moschino Barbie is a huge hit, currently sold out, and its commercial is breaking boundaries by featuring a young boy in it. What is this, the mother of this child interested in raising him to be? Let's continue on with the story. Moschino Barbie is so fierce, the boy screams as he and two female friends laud the doll, done up in designer Jeremy Scott's sleek glamour. Barbie's cell phone goes off and the male child says, "It's for you, Moschino Barbie," before winking at the camera. Watch the ad below. The strict gender lines of toys and children's accessories have slowly been breaking down, with Target moving to make its signage more gender neutral. Now let's read some of the comments. Spent grade 4 inside at recess playing Barbie. The other boys were outside playing a tag and a tackle game called I Kid You Not, Smear the Queer. Nice to see the world finally changing / progressing. But wait, there's more. I played with giant ships and fighter jets. The occasional Batman Superman fights and aliens. I am gay as my fiancé. Toys don't matter. Play whatever you love. And somebody responds, "Thank you, Chris. You and the internets with that comment." Wow, these people are just so sassy and wonderful. These are who I want my children to be around and be influenced by. What could go wrong? Look, I know where this is all going. You know where it's going too. The difference between me and you, you're unwilling to let go of your retarded social circle. Or you actually believe in your heart, in your mind, in your soul that a healthy society can be maintained if broken molestation victims exist at the top of your social hierarchy. You think that rotten trees bearing rotten fruits, you believe it should be tolerated, if not outright promoted. Ask FM questions. Not sure if this has ever been asked, but what do you think of the modern-day American Nazi Party and neo-Nazis in general? I personally think it's idiotic because the Third Reich ended almost 50 years ago, but I would enjoy hearing your thoughts on it as well. Thanks. I think it's a honeypot for homos and law enforcement. No, I'm being serious, and the KKK is the same thing too. It's nothing but a boogeyman and a fetish club. Next. Hey, see if there's something that's been bugging me. I have this unshakable urge to make my own podcast project, but it's pretty daunting because of all the new ones coming out. I feel like I would have a certain reputation of being a copycat, but I feel really led to do it. Can you offer any tips? Well, this medium has existed, this medium of audio, radio, internet audio, and so on has existed for a long time. But how you avoid becoming a copycat is finding an angle that nobody else is exploiting and exploit it. For example, I'm the only one that gives a shit about matters of personal conduct, matters of the soul. So ask yourself, what am I not hearing? What am I not hearing from the people who I listen to? I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give you, my one real insight. The rest of it, becoming a better talker, becoming a better organizer at putting together your show, that stuff will come in time. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Given the recent events from Paris, what do you think of this article? It details the Al-Qaeda plans. I clicked on this, I stopped recording, clicked on it, and I skipped to the part that says an Islamic Caliphate in 7 Easy Steps. And this is what I'll comment on. I'll read it first. In the introduction, the Jordanian journalist writes, I interviewed a whole range of Al-Qaeda members with different ideologies to get an idea of how the war between the terrorists and Washington would develop in the future. What he then describes between pages 202 and 213 is a scenario, proof both of the terrorists' blindness as well as their brutal single-mindedness. The 7 phases the terror network hopes to establish an Islamic caliphate with which the West will then be too weak to fight. The first phase, known as the Awakening, this has already been carried out and was supposed to have lasted from 2000 to 2003, or more precisely from the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001, in New York and Washington to the fall of Baghdad in 2003. The aim of the attacks of 9/11 was to provoke the U.S. into declaring war on the Islamic world and thereby awakening Muslims. The first phase was judged by the strategists and masterminds behind Al-Qaeda as very successful, writes Hussein. The battlefield was opened up and the Americans and their allies became a closer and easier target. The terrorist network is also reported as being satisfied that its message can now be heard everywhere. The second phase, opening eyes, is, according to Hussein's definition, the period we are now in and should last until 2006. Oh, so this is an older article. I missed the date on it. Oh, this is from 2005. Okay. This will be a lot more interesting from here on out then, and should last until 2006. Hussein says that the terrorists hope to make the Western conspiracy aware of the Islamic community. Hussein believes this is a phase in which Al-Qaeda wants an organization to develop into a movement. The network is banking on recruiting young men during this period. Iraq should become the center for all global operations, with an army set up there and bases established in other Arabic states. The third phase. This is described as a rising and standing up and should last from 2007 to 2010. There will be a focus on Syria, prophesies Hussein. Based on what his sources told him, the fighting cadres are supposedly already prepared and some are in Iraq. Attacks on Turkey and even more explosive in Israel are predicted. Al-Qaeda masterminds hope that attacks on Israel will help the terrorist group become a recognized organization. The author also believes that countries neighboring Iraq, such as Jordan, are also in danger. The fourth phase, between 2010 and 2013, Hussein writes that Al-Qaeda will aim to bring about the collapse of the hated Arabic governments. The estimate is that the creeping loss of the regime's power will lead to a steady growth in strength within Al-Qaeda. At the same time, attacks will be carried out against oil suppliers and the U.S. economy will be targeted using cyber terrorism. The fifth phase. This will be the point at which an Islamic State or Caliphate can be declared. The plan is that by this time, between 2013 and 2016, Western influence in the Islamic world will be so reduced and Israel weakened so much that resistance will not be feared. Al-Qaeda hopes that by then the Islamic State will be able to bring about a new world order. The sixth phase. Hussein believes that from 2016 onwards, there will a period of total confrontation. So I think that there will be a period of total confrontation, but there will a period of total confrontation. Anyway, as soon as the caliphate has been declared, the Islamic army, it will instigate the fight between the believers and the non-believers, which has so often been predicted by Osama bin Laden. The seventh phase. This final stage is described as the definitive victory. Hussein writes that in the terrorists' eyes, because the rest of the world will be so beaten down by the 1.5 billion Muslims, the caliphate will undoubtedly succeed. This phase should be completed by 2020, although the war shouldn't last longer than 2 years. Well, some of the time frame and some of the details seem to be off, but the point about Syria is a bit chilling. But what does this say about us? What does this say about Western civilization? It has no plan. It thinks it can wallow in its decadence unscathed. Tolerance, apathy, and come. That's the Western world's plan. Come and creating new strains of these great diseases that make you more tolerant and apathetic. Like the one that made its way into Charlie Sheen's bloodstream, apparently. What kind of fucking degenerate do you have to be as a straight male to end up with HIV? Did you know that for a low-risk group, I read this in this book called 50 Things You Weren't Supposed to Know way back in the day. I don't know if it still holds up today, but at the time, a false positive, an HIV test that turned out positive for a low-risk individual that belonged to a low-risk demographic, the positive is false half of the time. Some months ago, we read an article, and in that article was a bit about heterosexual transmission of HIV and how it is very difficult to do heterosexually if you are using things in the way that nature intended, the way that nature designed them. If there is HIV present between the one of the two heterosexuals and sexual intercourse occurs, I think it happens, if it's unprotected, like 1 in 900 times. Incredibly unlikely. And this is why you don't really see lesbians getting HIV unless it's through using dirty needles. But whatever, nobody's listening. Alright, Reddit question time, and apologies to the Reddit crew. I accidentally set the subreddit to private recently, and that was a mistake, but it's back to public now. Everything's good. What's your obsession with John Cena about? But a guy tweets a few times, a few non-serious things about John Cena, and all of a sudden he's obsessed. Come on now. But to be serious, I do like John Cena. I haven't been following wrestling as long as some other people have who seem to be tired of his shit, but I enjoy watching his matches. He's an entertaining guy to me, and I enjoy his work. Okay, next. With all the bullshit surrounding comic books these days, I thought I'd make a mainstream hero that stands for truth and against degeneracy. I say mainstream because it would be mostly about striking against sexual impropriety, the fallacies of homosexuality, and the current ramping up of child sexualization. Iron Pill is far too pultier. Something along the lines of Rorschach or Punisher. Excuse me. Only problem, I can't draw for shit, but I have a couple solid episodes written out. How would you approach inquiring about a collaboration with a visual artist? I don't think I need to go into detail about how left the art world is. And you already got a piece of advice from Schwartz here. Try finding a draw fag on Co. That's a good idea. I don't know what that's like or how successful people have been asking on image boards for help, but just present your idea like you did just now, and what's the worst that could happen? Some people are going to call you, say go back to poll. What does that mean? It means nothing. So I like the piece of advice you were already given, and I wish I could provide more insight, but I don't have collaborators. And once upon a time, I used to be a video artist. I used to make video art pieces until I realized at a certain point you have to have collaborators, because there are people who have a different, though tangential area of expertise that could help you. And I realized my collaborators would be the worst pieces of shit imaginable. Everything I despised, so I stopped doing it. And I stopped playing music for the same reason. And I play a number of different instruments, but what good does it do me if it earns you the worst kind of company? Okay, next. What should be the requirements for being eligible to vote? Well, for starters, what is the age at which you can run for president? I think it's 35. And I think that'd be a reasonable age. And what else? Oh, property ownership, things like that. Oh yeah, what should disqualify you immediately from being able to vote is being employed by the government. Having your salary be subsidized entirely by the taxpayer. Because your interests are conflicted if that's the source of your livelihood, and therefore you should not be making decisions that affect a broad number of people. Why do fascist Italy and Imperial Japan get little attention compared to Nazi Germany? And my answer was stolen. And the answer from Trist says, the answer to that question might have 6 and trillion in the same sentence. That's really all you need to know. I don't think there's a more elaborate answer I could give. And I'll get back to questions in a second here, minute, whatever, however long it takes. But I need to get to this. This comes from metro.co.uk. Beauty salon owner arrested for banning Muslims in racist Facebook post. A 43-year-old woman has been arrested in connection with a racially abusive posting on a beauty salon's Facebook page. Thames Valley Police detained the woman after the posting made following the Paris terrorist attacks, said that people from the Islamic faith were no longer welcome at the Blinks of Bicester, however you pronounce it, spa and beauty salon. The Facebook postings read, Blinks of Bicester are no longer taking bookings from anyone from the Islamic faith, whether you are UK granted with passport or not. And sorry, but time to put my country first. Police arrested the woman from Bicester, Oxfordshire, after people took to social media to complain about the comments. Laura Burt wrote, "Thank God you have been arrested. Foul woman, you deserve all you get." Victoria Alice Brady posted, "Fantastic news, TVP," referring to the Thames Valley Police, in light of the attacks on Paris. Scott Wood said, "Can put fake lashes on ignorance, but you can't educate it. You've a lot to learn. Racist and ignorant." And these are all Anglo names, everyone. And this is what we should seek to preserve. We should preserve that which is inherently treacherous, right? Got it. And don't give me that bullshit about, oh, it's just a few people, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. I have a whole entire folder of screenshots from that Memories Pizza bullshit that happened this last spring. I have documented comments from white homosexuals and white homosexual allies and so on, basically threatening to kill this poor family who runs some pizzeria in a town of 2,000. Now, you tell me how that's any different from this. Snakes, treacherous filth are everywhere. And speaking of treacherous filth, who is the lesser of these two evils, Bernie or Hillary? You can add another Democrat, but let's be honest, those are the two candidates that are going to be chosen. Well, I don't see Hillary Clinton letting anybody steal her microphone, so let's go with her. Okay, let's do emails. Glad to see that you are back. Really missed your weekly shows. A bit of an update and a question this time. As I finally started college, it's not great, but I expected much worse. A lot of the overpaid babysitters, about the same bullshit like 6 million Hitler was the evilest thing, Black Lives Matter, and they didn't do nothing. Typical shit like that. Some of the kids in the class repeating that drivel for participation points, and the like. It might sound odd, but I think I have a decent level of respect for myself and not allowing myself to fall into this line of thinking, or even let that shit come out of my mouth, so I'd like to think that I am doing decent. I like to think I'm doing decent. Well, yeah, it's not you that you have to worry about, it's just the effect it'll have on your morale. Continuing. But my question is, do you think it is relatively dangerous to try and get with girls in college due to things like fake rape charges and how one wrong move could have you end being a social outcast? It's only dangerous if you intend to sleep around with women you don't really know very well. Take Mattress Bitch, for example. Everything she did with that guy was consensual. But she realized she allowed herself to be used as a cum dumpster, and the feelings of regret took over, and then what happened? We are all familiar with the story. Look what happened. Despite, the text messages begging for ass sex. Yeah, I'm gonna say that anybody that wishes to be sodomized or sodomize other people is inherently untrustworthy. Next. Hey, CF, I saw your newest Common Filth Radio and one poster asked you about red pills on Zionism. I thought you'd recommend Pastor Anderson's March to Zion film. Not sure if you know of it, or if you didn't think it would be the best thing to show him, but if you don't know of it, I strongly recommend you check it out. It goes into depth about the politics of Zionism and how the Jews have nothing to do with the Abrahamic religions anymore. I didn't recommend it because I was unaware of it until now. So, for anybody curious, there you go. I haven't checked it out myself, so if you get around to that before I do, let me know about it. Okay, next. This article showed up in my newsfeed, thought you'd like to discuss it. Apparently some lesbian couple have adopted a kid and refused to change seats so an elderly couple could sit together. I flew a lot as a child, and I know that if my parents had been asked to change seats for an elderly couple, they would have done so because they're nice, polite people who understand that an old couple would be much more comfortable together than separate on a plane with strangers. But this is apparently blatant discrimination, and it left her in tears for a lesbian woman. Obviously, the airline just hates lesbians and wants to oppress them, right? There's no way they could actually want to help a couple of seniors at the expense of some younger people. Here's the article. And I won't read this whole thing other than Qantas has been accused of blatant homophobia and discrimination by a female passenger who says her partner was twice asked to change seats in favor of an elderly couple. Oh, I'm so surprised that these histrionic walking sacks of human damage think the world revolves around them and their fucking plight. These people don't have developmentally stunted baby brains. Nope. You have it because you're accusing them of it. Next. Could you potentially do a Tumbleristas episode about Columbiners? Thank you for your time. Let's find out what that is first. Waiting. Well, I am seeing some Marilyn Manson gifs and some animated gifs and screenshots from the surveillance footage of the Columbine High School shooting. Is it like I don't think I'm logged in right now, but are the Tumblr girls shipping the two shooters? That would be funny. Next, was the Paris terror attack the work of the inflow of poor innocent immigrants, or the work of the chosen ISIS? Well, there are some rumblings that Mossad's fingerprints are on it, so yeah, it is funny. You'd think that given their proximity to Israel, they would go after Israel first, yet they are everywhere but Israel. In fact, didn't I hear that jihadists were receiving treatment in Israeli hospitals? Next. Hey CF, another question for you. With refugees, quote-unquote refugees, flooding into New Orleans now, what's next? Are we going to experience another 9/11 type attack, or are we slowly going to die out as libtards continue pushing this shit, as they are killed with hatchets in the streets? Well, this is the fate they want. They want to die. They want somebody to impose will upon them. And this is what happens when you promote decades, generations of spiritual and moral retardation. We have obscured the very essence of our existence. We have arranged the hierarchy of importance in an incredibly unbalanced way. Our priorities are completely and utterly fucked. The examples of this are many. I have 63 episodes of the show worth of examples. Countless hours, countless examples of what happens when you think you can get away with living without God. And whatever you make into your false God, it will eventually kill you.